Hi everyone and welcome to another AFTV Live. Hope you're all enjoying your Saturday, your weekend so far. My name is Laurie, I'm your host today, and it gives me great honour and pleasure to introduce my brethren, popular AFTV contributor, Stricto in the building. How you doing, bro?
I'm not too bad, bro. How you doing, man? Been a minute.
It has.
I said,
It has, man.
yeah,
What you been up to?
But bro, nothing really. Just doing pushing a lot more content out there on TikTok, YouTube, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's been what I've kind of been trying to do these last couple days, man.
Yeah,
But
keeping
I'm happy
yourself
I'm
busy,
here. I'm
man.
happy I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, it's good days to be an Arsenal fan. I mean, listen, let's start with the obvious. Wednesday night, Arsenal, brilliant performance, knock the holders and 15 times winners at the Champions League. Stricto, where did you watch the game, by the way?
I was doing a watch along at home.
Okay, I was at the Box
Yeah,
Park.
I saw you at Box Park. Yeah. Which Box Park? Was it Wembley or Shoreditch?
It was the Shoreditch one. Yeah, it was packed out in there, man. It was packed.
Yeah. The atmosphere, I looked at, atmosphere looked good there, man. It looked over, like you said,
man.
It's such a good time to be an Arsenal fan. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, we've sort of just come into this good feeling from a season that looked like it was depleting slowly, it was dying out slowly, and here we are now. It's just all of a sudden there's this hope that's going around that everyone's clutching onto, which I think we have to clutch onto because really we don't have anything else after this. You know what I mean?
Well, we're going to touch on that, but yeah. So I mean, great performance. Anyone stand out for you?
I think there was a number of standouts. Timber for one. I think Timber went under the radar. I think he had a brilliant game. How he dealt with Vinicius. I think Skelly had a good game. Mourinho would probably be the super standout for me because he provided both assists, which obviously got us the win. Rice obviously won the man of the match, but I think Mourinho went under the radar. Those two great assists, and considering he's not on number 10 or is not his natural position to be actually giving match-winning balls, and and his overall contribution over the two legs can't be underrated or understated. So for me, I'd probably say Mourinho.
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that because a lot of people obviously went for Declan Rice. But listen, man, as a team, they performed really, really well. Totally deserved it. And I've got to be honest, man, we kind of made light work of Madrid. I don't wish that to sound disrespectful, but that's pretty much the truth. We did. We were much better in both games. So much for this remontada that we was hearing about before. That didn't happen, certainly. So yeah.
I call it lemon tada. Just a big lemon.
I like that one. I found the word descalabro, which means well beaten. You know what I mean?
There you go. All of it makes sense. At the end of the day, you did feel like all the PR that Real Madrid got going around, and they are a big PR machine. They had they had like after they lost, they had this thing saying, "Oh, the Bernabeu, 90 minutes at the Bernabeu is long," and all the players saying, "We'll see you on Wednesday." And listen, when they saw us, like I was saying, all week they've been talking about doing a drive-by, and all they did was just drive by.
Well, they spin the block, but they never let off no shots, Stricto.
Brother, they came to the block and left the block. That's all they did. They didn't even came and left, bro.
They just spin the block and then drove back home.
I drove back home. Nothing. And I mean, you said with no disrespect, and I mean this disrespectfully. Real Madrid did not lay a glove on Arsenal. Did not lay a single glove. Now we can retrospectively look at the game in hindsight, and we have been comfortable in 90 minutes twice. There was never a time where you can look and say, you know what? Phew, Madrid are posing a threat. In fact, I think the only time I did feel threatened was watching Aston Villa's comeback against PSG, and I thought to myself, whoa, this might be an inspiration for Real Madrid. Other than that, there was nothing Real Madrid as a club, as an entity, as a business made that made me scared as an Arsenal fan. Not one single bit.
But tell the truth,
all the
when Vinny Jr. scored that goal after the Saliba's mistake, was you even a little bit concerned or worried?
Not at all, because prior to that, what did they do prior to that? All they were doing throughout was spamming crosses into the box where Kivio and Saliba felt comfortable just heading out. They never really pushed anything. The only way they could have won that game is if Saliba made that mistake four more times. Literally, the only way that they were going to pose any threat would be us having to make an error. And we were very, very touch tight. We were very tight,
we were
very in control. We were comfortable at home and at the Bernabeu. You know, they talked about closing the roof. They talked about the noise. They talked about, you know, they're famous. This is their competition. They don't need to have to be on 100% to get through it. And listen, it was all noise. And I'm glad the boys. Our boys didn't do anything on social media. Everyone was quiet, knowing that they had to just go and do what they had to do. There was no external noise from the team. It was like, we'll do our talking on the pitch. And that's what we did. Let's talk about Miles Lewis Skelly. Going there, having a big performance, playing there like he was playing in a park with his brethren, bro. Like, this was the big Bernabeu. This is the mecca of all footballing stadiums. And he was so comfortable that not once did that noise get to him. Not once did the players get to him, other than Rudiger stepping on him. We should have got a red card for as far as I'm concerned. But it was just a breeze. Even Arteta, for example, Arteta dealt with it so easy. Even his press conference before and his press conference after, all of it was just, oh, I've been here before, even though he hadn't been there before. It was just all, you know, it could have been a press conference against Ipswich or Southampton, you know. It was that much of a light work. Do you know what I'm saying? So big up all the boys, man.
I mean, what I took from it, obviously knocking out Real Madrid and getting through to the semi-finals was big. But what I also took from that, I thought it was a statement and a coming of age of Arsenal. I think they announced themselves on that Champions League stage as if to say, we're here and we're here to win it. And that's, you can't put it no higher than that, man. Just quickly, we know we got PSG in the next round. You touched on them a minute ago.
Yeah.
Personally, I was very impressed by them against Villa. What do you make of that tie, and can we progress to the final?
I think we can get to the final. I really do think we can get to the final. We've played PSG before in this season's Champions League. However, I do understand they didn't have Dembele and they soon added Kvaratskhelia, whoever is the Kvaratskhelia, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know the Georgian guy is. I always mispronounce that name as well.
I can't think his name. Kvaratskhelia.
Georgian
so they've
guy.
added him. Yeah, the Georgian guy. Yeah, the Georgian guy. They've added him to the mix now, and he's a quality player. Dembele is a quality player. However, it doesn't excuse their poor defense. You know, bar Villa being so poor in front of goal, Villa could have turned that tie around. And listen, everyone has tipped them to be the favourites. And I'll say this to anyone with ears and a brain. We're not here to be favourites. We're here to be winners. Yeah? So all that favourite talk is not Arsenal's concern. We're here to take it all the way and to win the competition. Now, I do think we can beat PSG. And I'm not just saying this because we beat Madrid. But in the same way where it's a statement, I think we have now earned some respect. We have now earned some sensibility from other clubs. Meaning, you don't play against Arsenal and play and try to think you can have your way. It's not going to work like that. You're going to have to push and respect boundaries of Arsenal, because the two ties we've just had, we're the only team, by the way, in this quarterfinal that haven't lost, that have won both games.
Oh wow!
We're the only team.
Yeah.
They've all won. They've all won the first leg and lost second legs. We're the only team that have won both legs. So we have to be taken with respect. I'm not saying we're the favourites, and like I said, I don't care about the favourites. But PSG, a good team, they knocked out Liverpool. They, over two legs. But defensively, they've got an issue to worry about. And we saw Mendes against Saka at the Emirates. He struggled with Saka, but didn't struggle as much with Salah.
Most defenders do.
There's something there. Yeah. And now we're coming into the grand rising of Martinelli. where he seems to have now raised his level up. Now he seems to now want to take on his man. He seems to now want to remember how fast he is. He seems to now have discovered his Brazilian citizenship, and he's got stuff about him now where it's come at a good time. You know, so I'm positive with our attack going forward, and I'm definitely positive with our defense. And the only sort of light issue is the midfield. With Partey picking up that, I can't believe he did that.
That was living.
That soured the whole thing. That really did sour the whole thing. But I'm sure whoever comes in, whether it's going to be maybe Skelly going in the middle, or maybe he's in. I don't know how it's going to play out. But
well, it won't be Jorginho because he's still struggling with the rib injury, isn't he?
So likely, who would you put in there then?
Well, like you said, they have some options. I mean, the manager, when he was asked, he wouldn't be drawn, which is understandable because there's still a couple of weeks to go. But like you mentioned, Miles Lewis Skelly, you mentioned Zinchenko. I mean, Miles Lewis Skelly is a midfielder by trade. So if you've got Ben White back in the mix and people like that, and some of the other injuries, Calafiori is back. Yeah. So
he might take the left back spot while Skelly pushes up a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he does have options because, you know, we do have a number of players who are quite fluid and can play in different positions. So let's hope that it doesn't affect us too much. But yeah, you're right. When he picked up that booking, man, I was like, come on, man. Because Rudiger was trying to do that all game. You know what he's about. You know what I mean? Just don't get involved. The stakes are too high. You know? But anyway, he did that, and you know, he's going to miss the first leg at the Emirates, which I think is on April the 29th. In terms of the tie, Stricto, I am confident, but I do rate PSG. I'm not overconfident because I've seen them play. I've seen what they can do. And yes, we did beat them earlier in the competition, but I do think they're a very different team now. As you said, Dembele and our Georgian friend in the team. And they do, one thing I would say about them, they do play a very attacking brand of football. They're young, they're energetic, they get the ball forward quickly, they look to try and hurt you. But as you alluded to, Stricto, they can also be touched. I don't think they're the best defensively. I mean, Villa did create a number of chances. In fact, really and truly, Villa should have really put them out. You know what I mean? They had a couple of chances in that game that they didn't take. Also, I think the manager messed up a little bit there. I think he should have left Rashford on. But anyway, that's their problem. But I think PSG in the semi, that's going to be a great game, man. Great atmosphere, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah,
and like I do think we can go on and win. I really do think we can get to the final. And if we do get to the final, my personal preference would be Barcelona, and I'll tell you why. Because back in 2006, now this is just a personal preference. So back in 2006, as you know, we played Barcelona in the Champions League final in France. And I was there that day. Myself and Robbie went to the game, went over there in high expectation. We fell short. But I always wanted to win the Champions League, obviously. So if we could win it by beating Barcelona, who beat us back in 2006, to me, that would be the perfect storm.
That would be, I mean, I get your reasons why. And I think at this moment, I just don't care who we get. But I do get the whole revenge, the whole, you killed my father, I must avenge his death, sort of.
No, I think why I'm saying that, Stricto, is because it would be even more the sweeter. I mean, don't get me wrong. If we win it, I won't really care that much. But in terms of a preference, because we lost to them years ago, and it's not that I've got a hatred of Barcelona or anything, far from it. But you know what I mean? Because they beat us all them years ago.
They took it from us. They took it from us.
That would just be the icing on the cake.
Yeah, they took it from us. I do remember that day very, very, very well. You know, we all got hyped. He was at the stadium. I was at a sports bar in South Norwood with my brothers and them. And then you know, it was such a promising game, all excited. Our first Champions League final. What a great season we've had getting into that Champions League final, like how we got there, beating Villarreal.
Well, we beat Madrid that year.
We beat Madrid that year, but I think, wasn't it semi-final with Villarreal?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And Lehmann made a save, if I can remember, from Riquelme. And so it looked like the stars were aligning, and then boom, you know, Lehmann getting sent off.
Yeah,
Campbell scoring a goal, and then that was sort of all I remember. You know, sort of looking at the time, thinking, there's not much long to go. Like, just hang on in there, boys, and then, you know, what happened. So I get that would be sweet against Barcelona, but for me, I think Barcelona have too much. Then again, people said the same about Madrid. They've got all the attackers, they've got all the names. You know, Rafinha, Yamal, Jules Koundé, who else is Lewandowski. So they've got a mixture of experience and youth.
Did you mention Yamal?
Yeah, I mentioned Yamal, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
But they've got a mixture of experience and youth. And again, I just look at them and I just, maybe I'm overrating my Arsenal, I don't know. But I look at it and I just think, yeah, it's all good. But we faced a team with far more attacking threat and we dealt with them. And again, you look at Barcelona defensively, they can get touched.
Yeah, I can touch. One team that is in the competition that are defensively very sound, possibly as good. Yeah. And they beat us in the competition earlier as well. So listen, man, whoever we face,
penalty, by the way.
It was. I mean, listen, whoever we get, it's going to be difficult. PSG will be difficult. So I'm not by any means counting my chickens. But listen, man, lots to look forward to. But, and it's a big but, turning back to domestic matters, which after all is the bread and butter of any Premier League football team. We got a couple of Premier League matches coming up. We've got Ipswich tomorrow. We've got Crystal Palace, I think it is, in the midweek. All games that have to be won. Now, there is this little debate going on amongst Arsenal fans. We're second at the moment. I mean, it's interesting because Newcastle, if they'd have won today, they would have been within touching distance of us. But at the moment, anyway, I'm seeing they're getting smoked by Aston Villa. As I'm speaking to you now, it's 4-1 to Villa.
No.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so this just goes to show, man, how things quickly can change, because prior to today, man, Newcastle been looking really good. But Villa are on them, man. Maybe Villa are still hurting from that PSG performance. They've stuck it on Newcastle and beaten him 4-1, which is good for us, because obviously if Newcastle had won today, they would have been within touching distance of our second place. Now, talking of second place, Stricto, I've been speaking to a few fans in person and online. In fact, I was speaking to a couple of fans this morning in my local Tesco's, and they were saying that they're not really bothered about second place. You know what I mean? And I'm like, nah, man, come on, man. You want to finish second. You don't want to, like, you know, finish any lower than, you know what I mean, where we are now. Surely there's like, nah, man, it's all about the Champions League. I really couldn't be fussed about the Premier League right now. Now, I disagree with that. I'll be interested to hear what you think, Stricto.
I've always maintained the higher we finish, the better. So if we can't finish first, then obviously the second or the next best is second. That's what I want. I keep telling you, Laurie, for me, it's all about maintaining a winning mentality. You know, it's important. It will help us in our Champions League exhibition or our Champions League front. You keep winning, that mentality stays in there, you know, because you don't want to have to sort of be playing a game and you've lost your last game. You know, that's never really sat well with me. For me, it's just about just keeping it going, keeping the momentum going, keeping the camp and the spirit as high with wins. So I get why people say they don't care, because the league is really wrapped up. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a case of it don't really matter. If you're not first, then nothing else matters. But I think it does matter. You got to keep winning. You just got to keep winning. And also, I want to see in this sort of thing where I know you're probably going to ask me is what teams, what players will we have to select going forward? You know, do we go strong or do we sort of drop players and put PSG game at the forefront of the selection? And I would say, I think this is the time for us to try those players on the periphery of the first team. You know, show what you've got. And I feel like, to be fair, all the games from the Everton game up until the Brentford game, was it Brentford or Fulham? Not Brentford game. We've played, those guys have played well. It was only when we've had to make the subs to bring in our regular Champions League starters that the levels have dropped. You know, so I would give the Zinchenko's a chance. I would give the Owaneris a chance. The Trossard, give all of those guys a start and let them play till the end. You know, till the end of the season if possible. You know, because they have played well. They took the lead at Everton. You know, it was only, like I said, when we made those subs that our levels dropped. So I'm confident in those players to go out there to prove themselves and also to give us a highest possible finish in the Premier League.
No, I agree. I mean, we've not lost. We've drawn our last 2 Premier League games. I think both. Is it fair to say that we were the better team in both those games? I mean, okay, we didn't set the world alight in either of them, and they weren't very good games, if I'm being honest. But then you can understand why, because of the Champions League and all that stuff. But we haven't won now for a couple of weeks in the Premier League, so we've got to put that right. And I agree with you, Stricto. We need the guys on the periphery of the team to step up. And notwithstanding, those guys on the periphery of the team could find themselves in contention for a place in the side moving forward in those Champions League games. And, you know, I mean, it's highly likely that they could be called upon during the course of the games, especially if the games go to extra time or, you know, I mean, you go deep and you haven't put the game to bed, then you're looking at your bench for people to come on and make an impact. Now, if they're not playing well or they haven't had much football, then it's going to be difficult for them to impact the game. So, yeah, I do agree with you, man. And so the Premier League games are important. And I also agree with you, Stricto, about finishing second. Okay, we got to be honest as Arsenal fans and say that the title challenge this season has been disappointing, because personally, I was one of those, Stricto, that was kind of the belief that the minute Man City drop off, we would be the ones to capitalise. Unfortunately, that's not happened. Liverpool have been the team to step up, and they're going to win it. And let's be honest, Stricto, they're going to win it at a canter, yeah?
Yeah. There's no, we discussed this previously. It's pretty much been handed to them in terms of our performance and every other team's performance. You know, like no one's really, I think the only club that has got near Liverpool this season has probably been Chelsea in terms of points over the whole season. They had a chance to go clear of Liverpool and they never. And other than that, they've pretty much, I wouldn't say bruised it, but no one has really put up a challenge to them. And fair play to them, because you can only do what you can do to get to where you need to get to, and that's what they've done. So for me, once we started picking up our Champions League performances, the moment we who did we knock out in the first? Hold on, we played. No, we qualified, and then was we given Real Madrid straight away?
No, we had PSV. Yeah,
PSV. There you go. Yeah, we had PSV, and then I think from that point I started sort of looking at the Champions League, and when Real Madrid came, I was like, and I'm sure that many other people, some thought that was really the end of our season, and our season was done.
Yeah, they did.
You know, not doing well in the league and not having to play the holders and the record holders of the Champions League. It looked quite bleak from that point. But now where we've got, well and truly 3 games to go, why not concentrate and give our attention to the which I can see that's what we're doing. I can see Arteta's giving up on that. Oh, over my dead body in the league comment. I'm sure he's given up on that and he's now concentrating on the Champions League. Rightfully so, because there's no point wasting our energy in the Premier League. There's no point bringing in and risking injuries. We've had so many injuries this season, and I wouldn't risk it for nothing games. You know what I mean? Well, we probably
with respect, are you not contradicting yourself a bit there? Because a minute ago you said it is important to finish second. Now you're saying that.
No, what I'm saying is, it is important to finish. I didn't say to finish second, to finish as high as you can finish. Now,
now you're deviating, man.
No. That's what I said. If you can't finish first, then finish as high as you can finish. But it doesn't mean starting the players on the periphery that we're gonna lose games. I said they've played better than when we've had our regular starting 11. So concentrate on the main thing, which is the Champions League. But doesn't mean drop the ball with the Premier League. Doesn't mean because Sterling is starting. Sterling, you start and you play with your, like you said it, you summed it up perfectly. If you not play well from now to the end of the season and we make our way to the Champions League final, you could be in line for a call-up. So there's an incentive there for those players to play well and finish as high as we can finish. That's what my point is. It doesn't mean that go and flip and lose every game because we're starting our second choice. Our second choice has been good these last 2-3 games that they've played. So prioritize finishing as high as you can and keep the winning mentality. But I think the super priority here is the Champions League. Let's not lie about that.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. The main priority is the Champions League, and I do agree with you. Like certain players, listen, you're only an injury or a loss of form away from, playing a big part or being selected from the start. So they've got to keep themselves up, and they're professionals at the end of the day, man. They should be giving their best in every game, really. Let's be honest. But to me, I mean, finishing second for me is important, and I'll tell you why. I mean, you said it yourself, Stricto. What that does is it continues to build momentum within the club. I mean, as we all know, we've dropped off in terms of challenging for the title, which is disappointing. You could put that down to injuries and one or two other things. But nevertheless, it has been a disappointing season. But you want to try and finish on a high. You want to try and finish second. You want to maintain that competitiveness. You want to try and have a positive foundation for future. And the psychological impact is important, Stricto. You know what I mean? Like, if you finish second, okay, I know you don't get a trophy for finishing second, so I don't want people to flood the comments with them type of things. But at the very least, you could say, apart from Liverpool, you were the best team of the rest. You know what I mean? You were, you know what I'm saying? I know some people might not, but psychologically, I think that is important, Stricto. You can say, okay. Go ahead.
I think you're bang on about the psychological side of it. I know most importantly, next season starts now. Next season starts now. You've got to start, preparing for next season now. So it's about keeping it going into the next season. So when the next season starting, we've used our tail end of last season to essentially fuel the beginning of the new season. So it's not pointless per se in that sense, because you don't get a trophy like you said, but there's several factors about finishing strong. You take it into the next season. It allows players who maybe want to come to the club, look at where you're standing, and it makes it easier to to sort of join and to negotiate. If you're sitting 5th or 6th or whatever, like you don't have that negotiating hand. It's trying to finish as high as you can. So listen, nobody is celebrating second. Let's make it clear. But it has to be acknowledged that you are the second best team. There's only one team that finished above you. But again, you don't get trophies for that. But I do think the psychological effects are huge enough to take into the next season and make something out of that. It's just so disappointing that you always hear this saying that usually if you finish above City, you win the league. And in Arsenal's case, this season we finish above them, and that isn't a bloody case. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know, man. Yeah.
Only us, bro. Only us.
Sorry, go ahead, Stricto. Sorry.
No, go on. Say.
What the other thing I was going to say on that is that it's about mainly maintaining standards and creating an ethos and a mindset within the club that you don't drop your standards. So what I don't want to see is, like, we've done very well in the Champions League so far, and then you don't perform in the Premier League. What that does, it gives the impression that your standards are not as high as they should be. Because in other words, you're raising your game for the Champions League, but you're allowing those same standards to drop. Because you know what I mean? You got to keep an even keel on it. Because I'm a big believer, Stricto, is that the best clubs, the champions, the teams that win things consistently, they have standards that they don't drop below. You see what I'm saying? It's very important because turn a winning mentality on and off like a tap. You've either got winning mentality or you haven't. And the way you create a winning mentality is to go out there and try and win all your games and not accept second best or not accept standards that drop below a certain point. What do you think to that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been saying, and that's why I say it's important to finish as high as we can. It's important to win as many games. You know, all the games left. It's just important. Like you said, I think you summed it. That is standards. You know, it's professionalism. You know, it's about being professional in every aspect. Right? We're not going to win the league. I mean, it's not mathematically a conclusion yet that we're not going to win the league, even though that's what it's looking like. But you still never know. You just never know. They could go on a stinker on Liverpool from now to the end of the season, which is not likely, but I'm just saying before people jump in the comments and call me deluded. But crazy things have happened, you know what I'm saying? So it's about the club, it's about the fans, and we as fans have expectations. Though we want to concentrate on the Premier League, there are people who travel all over the world from everywhere to go and watch the Arsenal play. And I'm sure they don't want to go and watch the Arsenal stinking up the place because our priority is now the Champions League. People are still paying money. People are paying match tickets. People are paying hotel money. People are paying travel money. People are paying food, taking their kids out. No one wants to go there and bum out. You know, so the standards have to be there for the fans to maintain a level that the fans can enjoy. You know, so all those things are important factors. And for me, don't want to see us take our foot off the gas because of the Champions League. You know, so yeah, it's there's that many factors that I don't want you to let your standards down because, you know, the Champions League is up there, and you know, we're now listen. When you're wearing that Arsenal shirt, and I don't care who you are, you wear that shirt with pride, and you wanna serve that shirt with pride. You know, like Tony Adams famously said, you play for the badge, and they'll never forget the name at the back. So that should never change under any circumstance. You got to be loyal to the fans. People still put in money, and people are still putting in their time to support and to follow the Arsenal. So the least you can do is maintain your standard, and the least you can do is give it your all. Simple as that.
No, you make some excellent points there, and I particularly like that comment you made about the fans. The fans still paying their money; they're still travelling from everywhere. I mean, at that last game in the Premier League we played at Brentford, that disappointing draw, I did the fan cams after that game. You were there, Stricto, and there was a lot of disappointment amongst the fans that I spoke to. And I did speak to a couple of fans. I think one guy had come all the way from Canada. There was another guy I'd spoken to. He come from somewhere in Europe, Norway or somewhere like that. Definitely a Scandinavian country. So yeah, you're right, Stricto. There's still fans that are following the club, paying their money, watching from all over the world, getting up early or late, whatever the case might be. Support the club. So the players and the manager, everybody connected with the club, you owe it to the fans to give it your best. And so yeah, that is an excellent point. And
I mean,
also, go on.
When we're doing those fan cams that you just mentioned there, we meet people from all over the world. Like you just mentioned, Canada. I met people from Australia, South Africa, from you name the country, they've all come. And they've paid their good money. They've paid their good money. Some having to pay not even just the match price, not even the ticket price, visa price to come to this country. These things are not cheap. Do you know what I'm saying? Like these money, they ain't plucked it off a tree. They've come to watch their boyhood club, a club that means so much to them. You can't even understate when these guys come over how much it means to them to watch the Arsenal. It means a lot to them. So yeah, of course, you have to maintain a standard. If you look, you're not expected to win every game. No. But you're expected to try to win every game. That's just the standard there. That's just the standard there. So, that's all I expect as an Arsenal fan, and an Arsenal fan who's invested emotionally and financially and my time, just like you, Laurie. We travel, we go all over the country, we go all over the world, we go all over, Europe to support them, So, but I understand. The Brentford game, I know we didn't win it, but I understand sort of like where the priority lies. we didn't lose the game. And I said to you then, I said, I think what happened was as soon as we made those subs, as soon as the Sakas came on and the Timbers came on, their focus was on Real Madrid on Wednesday. And I didn't think it would have served them right to expected them to exert themselves, knowing that they've got that game to play. But again, you still have to serve the fans because the fans come first. They pay the wages. They keep the club running. All the structure of the club is based around the fan base, and it's that.
Yeah, I like this comment here from Lone Star London that says we must try to win every remaining game, and I absolutely agree with that. I mean, obviously, we're not guaranteed to win every single game, but we must go out there and do our best to win their games. I mean, speaking of that, what I call that winning mindset, trying to create that ethos around the team. I remember Stricter, I've read a couple of books in the past about teams with big sporting franchises. One was the West Indies cricket team. I know you're not into cricket that much, Stricter, but I'm into my cricket. And back in the day, West Indies had an all-conquering Test cricket side. And the way they went unbeaten in Test series for like a number of years, for about 10 years, can you believe it? And
really? 10 years?
Yeah, in Test cricket anyway, yeah. They were.
Is there draws? Is there draws or is it just win and losses?
Yeah, there are draws. But in terms of a series, best 3, best of 5, they actually went a number of years unbeaten. They were like smashing up everybody. And I read a book about that great side, and they were saying that the mentality and the winning mindset was forged from early out. You know what I mean? And every time they took that pitch, they did everything to win. You know what I mean? It was incumbent upon them to do that. And that's what I want to see of Arsenal. Another book I read was on the All Blacks, the rugby team, New Zealand rugby side. They had They talk about how powerful it is to pull on that jersey. So as soon as you pull on that jersey and you represent in the All Blacks, you know what that means. Every player has to give their absolute best, and they take it personal if they don't win the game. That's what you want to see from your football club. And like I said, doesn't mean to say you're going to win every game, but what that does do, though, is to try and ensure that you meet certain standards that you don't drop below. So I think it's very important. That being said, though, because the games in the Premier League come thick and fast, and because we got this very important game coming up, Stricto, on the 29th of April, a couple of games in between them, like I said, Ipswich or Crystal Palace. I just want your thoughts on how strong you think the manager will go with the team, starting with the game against Ipswich. I mean, it goes without saying that he'll introduce an element of rotation. But who would you like to see play tomorrow? What do you think the changes will be?
I think it'll be a heavy change. I think sort of similar to the Everton game, a lot of the players on the periphery. So we're talking about Trossard is pretty much one of the ones where he's more or less a starter. He's more the guaranteed starter out of all of them, sort of thing. I think everyone else has to. So I'm going Nwaneri on the right.
Yeah.
Now I think interesting on the number 9 sort of thing. Who sort of comes into that middle? Does he go with Mourinho, knowing he's literally sort of our only recognised centre forward? So I don't know what happens in that situation, whether or not he will tinker with it, and possibly even start with the what is it, Butler?
Yeah, you should know. It's a Niger goal, man. What?
Yeah, the reason why I'm struggling with it because I don't know the last name. It's not like I'm not struggling pronouncing it. I can't remember what the last name is. Actually, let me even look it up. I think it's Butler, Oladeji or something like that. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he's likely to. Oyadeji. I found it. Nathan Butler Oyadeji. So maybe it might be a chance to. It's Yoruba by the surname. By the surname is Yoruba.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a case of we might see him get a little start there. And you still have to respect your opponents. They're fighting to stay up. So, but I do think the quality we have. Are they relegated? They put up a good performance against Chelsea.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, no, it's not out of the woods completely. But I mean, as we speak now, they are what comfortably behind Wolves. I'll be honest with you, man. I think they're down, mate. They're down. I mean,
I
don't get me
mean,
wrong. They're on 21 points as we speak, in third bottom. Wolves, who are the next team to them, are comfortably ahead of them, 14 points ahead of them. They've got 35 points.
yeah.
So I
So
can't
pretty,
see Ipswich overhauling that. They would have to win all of their games and hope that Wolves lose all of theirs. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. So in any case, I do think, and also a lot of our fans want to see sort of like the players that we've got that we haven't really seen. I want to see Butler, Oyedeji. I also want to see Iwaneri, maybe possibly try him in that number 10 role that everyone's been saying. So I think it will be a good time to sort of experiment a bit, especially with a team like Ipswich, which have just confirmed are all but down. Sort of try and see who's willing to step up, who's willing to make their name. And listen, the club right now, we're in a good feel factor, so nothing more good feel than an academy player coming on and maybe scoring maybe the winning goal or just getting his name on the sheet.
Yeah.
Defensively, I do worry. I don't know how would you start defensively? The centre backs.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we're hearing that Ben White is back now. Well, he came on for a few minutes the other night. So that's good news. Tomiyasu, the season's out for him. He's done. We got to rest Timber, though. One thing I would be interested to know is if the manager will continue with I hope he does, actually, a Saliba-Kivior partnership, because that's starting to grow. That's looking good. And Kivior played really well the other day. I mean, going into that Real Madrid tie, a lot of people was looking at him as a little bit of a liability or a bit vulnerable. Props to the man. He came out of both games with credit, especially the second game. I thought he looked pretty accomplished in that second game. So that's good. So you want that partnership to continue, you know what I mean? Because obviously a couple of weeks' time, we've got PSG in another massive game. So I'd like to see that continue. Yeah, left back. I mean, Miles Skelly is looking imperious at the moment, but then you got Zinchenko as an option.
You've also got Tierney as well. I think on that side, Calafiori.
I'm hearing that Calafiori is close to coming back. Is that right? Also, Havertz. I'm hearing Havertz is close to coming back.
Havertz. I heard that a few weeks ago. I'm not sure where he's at with his progression or his progress. But I think defensively, I do take your point about Kivior and the Saliba partnership growing. But there is a side of me that's like, I don't know whether or not I would risk it. I don't know whether or not it's worth risking. But then again, we do have a cover there defensively. All the players Arteta's bought have been defensive minded. You got obviously Timber, who can play centre back. Also, with Partey obviously suspended, I imagine he's going to have a heavy involvement, possibly playing as right back, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how Arteta's gonna play with that. But I imagine Partey's playing or starting in against Ipswich.
I'm sure. That's right.
Yeah. So it's about having a balance, really. It's about maybe having a balance to sort of still keep the ethos and the structure there. But I do imagine there will be a lot of changes, which...
Yeah, I would imagine the likes of Tierney, Ben White, if he can play a full game, Zinchenko, Trossard, possibly even Sterling. I think those guys will either start or get a lot of minutes in this game. And as we were saying earlier, Stricto, it's important for all of those guys, not just from a personal level, but you want to give the manager something to think about. So, for example, Sterling, let's talk about Sterling. He's been relatively disappointing so far. However, things being what they are, if he does come in against Ipswich and Crystal Palace respectively and plays well, maybe gets a goal or an assist and does well, then you're giving the manager something to think about. He's thinking, you know what? Okay, you may not start you, But if things are not looking too great and I need an impact from the bench, you look like the type of guy that I can call on, yeah? That's what it's all about. You know what I mean? So, but I am expecting wholesale changes because, like you said, the players, you know, are getting to that stage of the season now where players get tired, injuries can occur. So it is a very important time of the season. You know what I mean?
Very
so
important. Very important. Sterling, though,
yeah,
I'm just not confident with Sterling.
I don't know what the absolute latest on Havertz was, but I saw a couple of headlines yesterday suggesting that Havertz will be back before the end of the season, which obviously is good news. I mean, it's interesting because when these guys pick up these injuries, you always hear, oh, that's it, he's out for the season. You heard that about Saka. Oh, he's out for the season. And then as weeks go by, you hear that they're in training. And then all of a sudden, oh, they might be in contention for a starting place in the next game. So if they could get Havertz back, that would be great.
I mean, at this point, does Havertz even dislodge Mourinho? Like, I just think Mourinho. I mean, the option is good to have an option. Let me put it this way: it's good to have maybe Havertz on the bench if things aren't going too well. Then you sort of bring him on. But at this junction, it's like Mourinho has. I just can't see anyone right now sitting Mourinho down. Like, I just don't see it. Even if Havertz was, I just don't see it. You know, he's just proving just how technical he is, how he's high IQ, you know, and you know, maybe Havertz might need to take a back seat until the end of the season. Maybe don't even rush him. But if he's obviously fit and everything's been given a green light, then fair. But I'm not rushing to put him ahead of Mourinho. I think you look at the goals Mourinho scored. Without disrespect to Havertz, I'm not trying to do a recency bias here, but that third goal that Mourinho scored, Havertz doesn't score that goal.
No,
against Havertz doesn't score that goal. And then you look at the 2 assists from Mourinho, Havertz just doesn't do that. And as simple as they look, we haven't seen that from him. And you know, I mean, the only sort of time I can remember Havertz doing something outrageous as an assist was against Tottenham. Was it this season where he done a diagonal to Saka?
Yeah.
You know, but other than that, I really don't see that too often from him. You know, but listen, let's not rush these players back. But if he's fit, then cool. But I'm happy with what we've got at the moment, and I'm happy to actually see what we've got. All the players that have been on the bench. Tini has impressed me the most. Every time he's come on, he's looked very dangerous. He's looked very alive. His levels haven't dropped. Zinchenko, he played well actually against PSV. His goal was well taken. Sterling is probably like you mentioned, probably the only big disappointment, given the name, the reputation, the clubs, you know, the experience. He just hasn't put it together in an Arsenal shirt. But again, every chance is a new chance. You know, he might, like you say, he might come on and get an assist and give Arteta something to sort of think about. He is an experienced player. You know, he deals well under pressure. But they're not going to get any other chance in a season than right now. They're just not. The way everything's been set up, the way everything's gone, this is your best chance. You know, the regulars are aiming for the Champions League, so it's up to you lot now to rise up and do your madness for Arsenal.
No, well said. I pretty much agree with everything you said there. What do you make to this, Stricter? You look in the comments there. What's the difference between second and fourth? I'll let you answer that before I come in.
There's a big difference, and I understand the question in the context of there's no trophy given for either. However, there is a financial element to it. You get the higher you finish, the more you collect in the money pot. Also, reputation. Reputation is also a thing. You know, we spoke about keeping a high standard. If you can't finish if you can't finish first, then finish as high as you can. If you can't finish second, then finish as high as you can. If you can't finish third, then fourth is it's psychological, you know. So that's the main difference there to Mr. T.
Mr. T,
yeah, T. Yeah. I pity the fool. You know,
you mentioned the financial element, and yes, I mean, I know some fans will think, "What's that got to do with me? I'm just a fan." But yeah, you are right. That is one important aspect for the club. And secondly, just the aesthetics of it, Stricto.
Yeah,
Why would you want to finish? Would you want to finish fourth if you can finish second? Second is, to me, is there's a big difference between finishing second and fourth. There's a big difference. I mean, second suggests that what it is, which is that Liverpool won it, but of all the other 19 teams, Arsenal were the best of that. Not only that, you can use the runners-up 3 years in a row in a positive context as well, as if to say, look, we finished second, even this year when we weren't at our best and we suffered a lot in the way of injuries and things like that, we still managed to finish second. That's the way, it's how you project these things as well, you know what I mean? So people say,
it's the half empty, half full sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so if I'm looking at it as an Arsenal fan and I want to be positive, I will look at that second place finish, if that's indeed where we end up, which we hope that is where we be. I'm going to say, listen, you know what? This was a very difficult season, but here what? We had a very good Champions League run. We had injuries, and look, we still managed to finish second. So if we can get some players in the summer, have a better transfer window than we did in the previous ones, there's no reason to suggest why come next season, man, we can look forward to optimism with that season, knowing that even though we weren't at our best the previous season, we still managed to finish second and put in a really good Champions League run. So that's straight away what I would answer Mr. T with. And like we said earlier, some of the other things he said about maintaining standards, attracting top talent, you know what I mean? Maintaining competitiveness, positive foundation for future success. You know what I mean? All those things factor into it. So yeah, Mr. T, I think we've answered that question well. You're perfectly entitled to come back if you want. But yeah, I think there is a big difference between coming second and coming fourth. What's this? Gold League title? You lot are using that in all your arguments. 20. Well, listen, you've never won a European Cup. Well, we have won a European Cup. It wasn't the Champions League. Yeah, but
it must be the North race.
Yeah. What do you make of that? He's having a bit of.
I don't want to use profanity, so just skip that comment, bro. Because clearly someone I don't know what they're talking about.
This goes to what you were saying: higher prize money. Somebody that accused you about Mourinho.
Mourinho's a better in the final third.
Tell you what I would say about Mourinho, Stricto, is that what I've realised about him even more, having watched him quite closely since he took up that kind of number 9 or false 9 position, whatever you want to call it, is that with Mourinho, he's not what I would call physically imposing. As an athlete, I don't think he's particularly physically imposing. And he is 6'2" tall, but I wouldn't say he's particularly fast or particularly strong. But two things that I have noticed about him, and I'll invite you to comment on this as well. One is his football intellect. I think he's a very intelligent footballer. And those assists the other day allude to that. And not only that, the third goal he scored against Real Madrid, when he contorted his body, took the ball straight away, bang. You know what I mean? Unerring finish in the corner. But the two assists the other day, that through pass he had for Saka's goal, that was fantastic. A lot of players don't do that, you know what I mean? And then the other thing I like about Mourinho, man, is that he's reliable, you know what I mean? He's always there. He tries to, he may not impact the game for 90 minutes, but he does certain things, man, that you think, you know what? I like that, man. You know what I mean? Like you said, Stricto, he does certain things that I've not really seen Havertz do yet. They're different types of players. I would say Havertz is more physically, athletically gifted. Mourinho plays the game more in his head. That's what I see with. What do you think?
I agree with you, but I also got to say, let me say this as well. Do you think we have a better front three now than we did at the start of the season?
I wouldn't say it's better. I'd say it's different, Stricto. I'd say it's different. Because like for the reasons I just explained, I do think that Havertz gives you a lot more in terms of, like, for example, holding the ball up. I don't see Mourinho doing that very well in a classic sense. You know what I mean? Like holding the ball up, bringing others into play. I don't think he's that type of player when he plays up top. But like I said, with those fruit passes that he does, some of the positions he takes up, you could see that the guy is a very intelligent football, very experienced. And you can see how he scores his goals. You know what I mean? He's got very good.
There's definitely no debate. There's definitely no debate. I personally think we have a better front three. I think if you're looking at like his goals per game and now he's adding assists to it at the big stage, I do think we've got a better start, a better front three. Mourinho, for me,
statistically though, or do you think that it just works better? Is that what you're trying to say? You think it works better, or what?
I think it works better because the output from him is there to see. I don't know how many goals he's got, but in that time, and also given that he's never played that position before, where he knows where to be, especially like, before, like in and around that area, like he knows where to be. I do disagree. I do think he's got a good hold up. Actually, I think I disagree with you on that. I think he's got a good hold up, but in a different way, where he likes to face the goal, whereas in the traditional sense, your back's against the goal. And I think he's aware of his abilities and what he can and what he can't do, and he sort of works with it. I think for him, it's just about holding the ball, shifting it away from an opposition. Whereas in the sense of the typical hold up, it's you inviting, the defender on you so you can make a pass and link up. I think he does it differently. I rate his IQ highly. Yeah. I think that's one thing I don't think Havertz has. Havertz is more of a brute. He gets I don't know about being a brute, but I think with Mourinho, he knows he's not the fastest, so he will take a position in a place that doesn't require the pace. For that second goal, for example,
he plays the game in his head well.
He plays it there. That second goal, for example, he knew to hold the ball and when to release it at a perfect time, at a perfect speed, ran straight into Martinelli's. He didn't have to break stride. Martinelli didn't have to break stride. Same with the Saka goal. He put it in a space where the exact finish that was needed was exactly what we saw. Do you know what I'm saying?
And the technique of that ball, I mean, should not be understated because Saka was just able to run onto that.
Run into it.
Momentum, and so that was the technique was superb there. And that's what Mourinho has. He's a very good footballer. And allied to that, he has a very good footballing brain. And that's what I've noticed about him. I mean, it's interesting because when he was playing at number 8 for Arsenal earlier in the season, he wasn't ripping up any trees. And I heard a few people saying, oh, man, this guy, man. And okay, you could counterbalance that by saying he's not had a pre-season, but he didn't quite look up to scratch as a number 8, you know what I mean? But since he's made the move forward, I mean, he got those 2 goals against Leicester, he's not looked back really. And he's amongst that. He's level with goals with Martinelli and them, man. So after Havertz, he's level with goals with Martinelli and Saka and them, man. And he's obviously played a lot less games than them, man, up top. So he's proven his worth there, man.
More than proving his worth.
Do you think he'll start tomorrow against? Do you think Mourinho will start tomorrow against Ipswich?
No, I don't think so. I think again that's what I'm thinking. I think he might try. I mean, I'm hoping he tries Butler or Oyedeji. I don't think he will start Mourinho. I think Mourinho will probably get an involvement in the game, but I don't think it will start. I don't think it will start with him. I think it's good for us to now see, like I said, I stated earlier, what of a chance are we gonna get to see? For him to tinker it a bit. A team that's basically relegated at home. Nothing really much is gonna change. To be fair to them, they did give us a game at the Emirates when the season. It was a very tight scoreline. It was 1-0, I believe, if I can remember. But I would like to see either a Waneri in a 10 or a Waneri up top or Butler Deji. That's sort of what I'd like to see because we ain't gonna get any other time to see sort of that to see that work, you know. And maybe Sterling can maybe get, you know, his customary run, you know, and hopefully, you know, improve himself there. But yeah, I'm not expecting it to be a strong lineup.
Yeah, it's interesting with
who would you like to see there?
I think I'd like to see Mourinho there, man. More games, more goals, more confidence. You know what I mean? So, I mean, obviously, these guys will be assessed.
If you get injured, I'm blaming you, bro.
Well, this is it, like, so. But then you could say that about anybody on the team, Stricto. I mean, we said earlier we want to see Saliba and Kivior maintain their partnership. Can you imagine if something happened to Saliba? We'd be crestfallen. You know what I mean? So I guess that's the risk you're going to run. Even in training, when these guys go training, man, by all accounts, these guys, they don't lay around in training. They train hard. I think the ethos is you train as you play. You know what I mean? So even in training, things can happen. So you kind of have to take the phrase.
The rough or the smooth or something. Yeah, rough or the smooth or yeah.
But anyway, we're closing in on the show, Stricto, and I thank you because you did say earlier on that you might have to leave before time, but you've ended up staying for the duration of the show, and I'm very happy about that. And you know, I could talk to you.
You kidnapped me, man. You kidnapped me, bro. It's like this is a kidnap. This is hostage.
No, you know what it is, right? For people who don't know, me and Stricto go back and forth all the time, man. We're always talking. So me doing this show with you, it just comes naturally because me and you talk anyway. And we don't just talk about football, by the way. We talk about boxing,
everything, UFC,
politics,
life,
anything, man. So, yeah, man, it's always good to hear what you got to say. And one thing I would say as well, I'm not just saying that because you're here. I've got mad respect for you, the way you speak about the game. You're not frightened to express your views, even if people got a problem with it. And I respect people like that. What I don't want is for people to come on here and to play too cautious and not say anything because they're worried about upsetting people. To me, that's asinine. I want people to come on here and say what they feel. As long as they're able to back it up with cogent, legitimate arguments, which is what you do, then I'm really good with that. So thanks very much, Stricto, for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
I'm glad you agree with me that second place is important. It's not something that we should take lightly because at the end of the day, it does mean a lot. And yeah, thanks to you. Quick one before you go. Prediction for tomorrow's game.
4-1. Awesome.
Wow, you're going big. So who's going to get the goals?
Kivior. Kivior with one. Just to maintain his confidence. Kivior.
Yeah.
I think if Butler or Deji scores, he might get a brace. Trossard. Yeah, there you go.
You know what? We've not scored 4 goals in a Premier League game match for a while now, you know. I don't think since February when we played Man City. In the Champions League, we smashed PSV 7. We put 3 past Real Madrid in that first leg. But since then, in the Premier League, man, we've not scored that many goals. Like I said, we smoked City 5-1 back in February, early Feb. So we're due some goals. So maybe you're right, Stricto. Maybe tomorrow. You know what I mean? Wanyeri's not scored for a minute. Wanyeri's not scored for a minute, actually. He's due a goal. Sterling's due a goal.
Opportunity. Yeah,
exactly.
Perfect opportunity.
Yeah. But yeah, 4-1. I'm gonna go 3-1. I'm gonna go 3-1. Yeah, I think, and I think Mourinho will probably play. I fancy him to get one. Fancy Wanyeri. And 8 and let's hope it's Sterling or one of them, man. It's somebody from, you know, I mean, who's not been playing regularly, can come in and hopefully do their bit. Maybe a Trossard, one of them, man. But I am confident. There's a feel-good factor around Arsenal at the moment, and I think that they will. I mean, I expect Ipswich to put it on Arsenal. You know, they're playing for pride, and they do have some good players. Be interested to see Amari Hutchinson. He's been playing well for Ipswich this season. They got the guy Delap. Delap looks like a good player. A lot of people talking about him moving on to a bigger club for next season. So I'm sure you'll be anxious to impress. So yeah, man, should be a good game tomorrow afternoon. Are you going to the game, Stricto?
I'm not sure yet.
You go to a lot of away games, don't you? So
yeah. I've got something that I've got going on, so I'll have to see how that pans out. But
well, if you don't go to the
so,
game, the next best thing is to join us in the AFTV studio.
I might come to the studio.
Yeah, that's the next best thing. If you can't be at the game, come to the studio where we'll be doing the AFTV.
I'll be at the studio. You see me at the studio.
Nice one. Yeah, that'd be good, man. It'd be great to have you there. Yourself, James, Turkish, loads of man, some special guests passing through as well. Hopefully Stricto YouTube. But listen, as I said before, thanks so much for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody out there for watching. Thanks to everybody who submitted comments and who contributed to the show. Really do appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow. We're out. Take care.